Good morning. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living. I have a nice surprise for everybody. We have a special guest, Jon Heron from CSL Princeton, where he's a licensed practitioner, and he will bless us in this moment with a beautiful story and an opening treatment.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So have I got a story for you. And this story illustrates the statement that Ernest Holmes made that what you focus on expands. So you can start thinking about that. So this is a story from Hindu mythology. And there was a man named Indra Prasad, and he was a very devout man and spent his days in prayer and meditation, and always when he was doing his work, his mind was on God. And because he was so devout, he was given the great blessing of becoming the attendant of the great god Brahma. And Indra Prasad's job was to sit by the door when Brahma was meditating, which was most of the day, and make sure that nobody disturbed the meditation. And day after day, he would sit there in prayer. And if people came to pay their respects to Brahma, Indra Prasad would make sure that they certainly didn't interrupt Brahma's meditation. And so one day he was sitting there, and a dirty person showed up, just covered in dirt. He was a beggar, and he was coming, and he was insisting on seeing Brahma, and just running into the place where Brahma was meditating. And Indra Prasad stood up and blocked the way and said, "No, you can't go in. My job is to make sure that Brahma's meditation is not disturbed." And the man just pushed him aside and said, "You can't stop me." And Indra Prasad said, "Yes, I can. I will stop you." And the man drew himself up to his full height and cursed Indra Prasad. At that moment, Indra Prasad realized that this man was the god Shiva, who had come to pay respects to Brahma. And Shiva went in and paid his respects to Brahma and left. And meanwhile, Indra Prasad was now quaking in terror because he had been cursed by the god Shiva. And he ran into Brahma and fell at his feet and said, "What can I do? I was cursed by Shiva that I would have to live 100 extra lives. And I would have to work out that karma." And Brahma said to him, "Well, let us see what we can do. My blessing added into the curse of Shiva, because one cannot reverse the curse of Shiva. One must experience the karma of that. But here's how you will experience it. You will live those 100 lives as a worshiper of me. You will live those 100 lives in worship." And Indra Prasad said, "Well, that's wonderful, but I will have to live an extra 100 lives. And Brahma said, "There is another option. If you will live 10 lives as a hater of God, then you will work off that karma in just 10. Because often people who hate are more focused on the object of their hate than people who love. And what you focus on expands." And in Hindu mythology, it turns out that this very devout man, Indra Prasad, became the 10 asuras, the 10 monsters who killed and fought with people who worshipped God, in the part of different aspects of Hindu mythology. So what does that mean for us? This is certainly in the world that we're living in right now. There are many things demanding our attention, knocking at the door, wanting for us to focus on them. Things that outrage us and get us angry and get us sad and depressed. Things that seem really difficult. But it's really important to remember that what you focus on expands. And Ernest Holmes tells us that love alone may heal everything. And so this little message today is, by focusing on loving, you can heal everything. And Ernest Holmes also says, where love is, there's no room for negative feelings. And so with that thought in our minds, I will do a treatment. So this word is for everyone listening, for each one listening, and for each one who is involved with CSL Morristown, and for anyone who wishes that they were listening. So knowing that God is love, and this love is present in all things, as all things, through all things, always, at all times. And since that is true, that means that each one listening, everyone listening, is that love, that presence of love in all things, in each one, as each one, through each one. And therefore, I am knowing that everyone listening is now experiencing this perfect truth of the presence of love as a real and true presence in everything that is done by each one. Each one's life is now blessed with the awareness of love, and each one is finding new inspiration. Each one is finding new creativity, new love in themselves, in their surroundings, in the world, and each one is knowing by that love they are healing themselves and the world. And each one is living with that consciousness now. And in that consciousness, each one focusing on that which lifts them up, the world is now healed. And in that knowledge of healing, with great gratitude for this truth, I release this to the law, and so it is.
Thank you so much, Jon Heron. Jon is just a beautiful storyteller that we are blessed to have with us today. And so we are exploring this year the theme of timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. And today the topic is, oh, mind of mine. And Jon is here today, as we usually have someone assisting and sharing and holding the high watch and knowing the truth, and then sharing their beautiful gift and talents and wisdom. And his stories are always deep and rich. And they've set the tone today, because when we ask the question, oh, mind of mine, where am I going? We are deepening our awareness around mindfulness. We're deepening our experience of mindfulness. And then we get to feel what it feels like in what we're noticing, which gives us information about where we are, what our mind is carrying or believing. And so that gives us information on what we want to change and how we want to change it. So my name is Frankie Timmers, and I'm the spiritual director here at Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching, because this live stream will be broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook as a video later. And I want you to take a look at our website, www.cslmorristown.org. And if you feel inspired or blessed or gifted because you're here or a part of this community, there's a place on the website where you can give back. So if you are on Facebook, you can use the bubbles. Let us know where you are. If you're new, let us know how we can support you. Start a watch party, share what you find on our pages, and tag someone. So, oh, mind of mine. The first true understanding and true awakening that I experienced personally around mindfulness when one of my colleagues, who is a teacher that I've always so enjoyed, his name is Reverend James Golden. Way back, he was in Redding, California, where he spoke from this place of, oh, mind of mine, where are you going? He spoke about mindfulness and how to cultivate it. And when he said that line, something clicked in my mind where I realized that's a good one to hold on to, especially when I find myself pointing fingers, judging, criticizing. I can literally ask myself, oh, mind of mine, where are you going? Because it's about noticing what happens. Noticing what happens in your mind. So I have a couple of examples, and I want you to feel it in your body and notice what happens to you. Notice what happens when there is a police car with sirens behind you. Notice what happens when you have aches and pains in your body, or have a certain diagnosis. Notice what happens. Notice what happens when your car breaks down. Notice what happens when someone does something that you don't like or maybe even hate. When somebody says something you don't like or don't agree with, notice what happens. Notice what happens when you see someone you love unexpectedly. In your body, notice what happens, whether you're doing it now or notice it later. Notice what happens when you win the lottery, when you have a number. Notice what happens when you get good news. These are all things that we can play with. I mean, aren't you blown away by your mind? I am blown away by my mind. I'm blown away by what it's capable of, but I'm also blown away by some of the reactions that distress me. And sometimes I get really sick of it. Sometimes I'm sick of it, thinking about how much time in my life I spend worrying or being afraid or being anxious when I look back. So that gives me information about how I want to move forward. Then I know that that is not a great use of my mind, that I need to cultivate something different, a different practice. And so we have this teaching called the science of mind. And sometimes we get confused. Sometimes we're too focused on the mind. Sometimes we don't understand what the science of mind is really about. What we say in our teaching is that there is the universal mind, which you can call the mind of God, the mind of the universe, the infinite mind of intelligence and love. And then there's my mind and your mind. They are not separate, as much as we at times insist in really weird ways. As much as it's hard to grasp this idea that my mind is part of the universal mind, that I am using the universal mind, and that it responds to my mind by means of the universal law, and therefore demonstrates what I'm focused on, like the story. And so my mind then is the use of the universal mind. And the thing that we really need to understand that's really important is that we are free to use this mind any way we choose. And that it behooves us to be mindful so we can make choices that serve us and serve the highest and best of the collective, because there's only one mind. So we're also part of the mind of all of humanity. And so we find that we have free will in how to use this mind. And so it's important for us to become the gatekeepers to our mind, to notice what we're noticing, to take responsibility for it, to not make it about anyone or anything else at any time. That's a high calling, but that's why we're on a spiritual path. And so being the caretaker of your own mind is like being the caretaker of your home, being the caretaker of your body, being the caretaker of your car, your children, your pets. It's becoming aware and truly understand how important it is to care for our mind and to not disconnect it from our heart. The teaching should be called the science of mind and heart, because sometimes we forget that part. It's law and love and law, heart and mind. Everything is beautifully connected. So we must pay attention to how we feel, because our feelings inform us. Our feelings are the guide to the mind. Our feelings are telling us what's going on in our mind. If I'm feeling distressed because I heard some bad news, it means that my mind is thinking about something in a limiting way, and that I have an opportunity to clear that and to claim a new idea. To check it out. Is that really what I think? Is that really what I believe? Is that what I want to think or continue to want to think or continue to want to believe? And so my mind and your mind is our use of the universal mind. And the universal mind is all good, all love, all grace, all peace, all harmony. So if I'm not experiencing that, it's because my mind is making up stories that it's separate, or that it's limited. We have this beautiful freedom to live the way we choose to live. And it all begins within our own consciousness. We know this. We already, and this is the beauty of this teaching, we already have full access to this universal mind and the universal heart to partake of it in any way we want to. The only thing that's in the way is how we limit it and the stories we make up about it. That's why we do spiritual practices. And it's important for us to use the spiritual practices that are available to us, because they allow us to slow down the mind, to become more conscious, to become more aware, and therefore make different choices. So using this infinite intelligence that is already within us is where all the power lies. Think of it as electricity. Electricity is available, but we have to use it. We have to make use of it. I have to plug in this laptop in order to get power. I have to plug in my lamp in order to get light. I have to plug in my toaster to make my toast in the morning. It's the same. The universal mind is like electricity. I must make use of it. And how do I make use of it? I never will be somebody who will take a safety pin or a hairpin and stick it in a socket, because I know what's going to happen. And so why don't we use our mind in that way, with more awareness, being more conscious, being more thoughtful, being more careful? So the next thing is we want to tune into the infinite wisdom already within us. I heard this week something so beautiful, that wisdom is love and intelligence together. Wisdom is love and intelligence together. And the beauty is that it's already within us. We don't have to gain it, gather it, take another class, read another book. Just access it from within. And then we must trust that this universal mind, this infinite mind that has always existed, that is fully pregnant with all life, all love, all beauty, peace, power, joy, wisdom, we have to trust it. We have to trust that it is the ground beneath our feet, that it's the sky over our head, that it's the wisdom of our mind, that it is the love already in our heart. There's nothing lacking. That's where we go when we become mindful, when we practice meditation, visioning, prayer. Go back to the source. I am someone who dreams a lot. And I record my dreams on a little mini cassette player, for those of you who remember what that is. And then I record them in my journal, and I work with them because they often have very powerful information. A lot of the time it's just to digest what's happened during the day or what I'm concerned about or excited about. But very often it has wisdom, especially when before I go to sleep, I treat for wisdom to be revealed in my dream state. And the other day I had a wonderful dream about my therapist, who's no longer my therapist because it's over 15, 20 years ago that she was my therapist. But I dreamt that I was at a retreat outside, and I was telling her that I was really struggling because I couldn't turn my mind off. I was going crazy with worry and anxiety, and that was somewhat of a state that I was experiencing at that time. And she said something very specific. She said, "So take it to the edge and then turn it over." Take it to the edge and then turn it over. What that meant to me is allow your mind to be active. Notice it. Feel it. Take it to the edge. Maybe think the worst, maybe explore what's going on until you're done, and then flip it to what's on the other side. What's available on the other side at that moment was peace, emptying my mind, quieting my mind, trusting the universal mind in my mind instead of trusting my mind. And so the message is so simple. This is so simple. We're just asked to keep it very simple. And so I want to close with 3 simple ideas that we can practice. The first one is learn, discover what's in your mind. Learn your own mind. Understand where it goes, how it works, what it does, what serves you, what doesn't serve you. Just learn a few things about your own mind. And then listen. Listen. Just pay attention. Just notice what your mind is thinking about. It's just information. Where does it go when you're worried? Where does it go when you're excited? Where does it go when you have fear? Where does it go when you have joy? Just notice. Listen. Pay attention. And then love. Just embrace yourself and the power of your own mind. The freedom to choose, to use your mind the way you choose to use it. We know from our teaching that love is all there is. That continues to be something that deepens and broadens and heightens in me because it's an infinite concept and it always expands in me. Still difficult to grasp, right? Love is all there is. Then what about fill in the blank? Love is all there is. That's the truth. Love is all there is. So I want to read in closing something really wonderful I came across. It's by the author Brendan Burchard. So listen to this, and you might want to close your eyes. We're not transmitting or receiving love as we are divinely intended to. We are filtering love rather than feeling it. We fell for the prevailing hysteria that said, protect your heart. And we began to believe that love itself had enemies and needed protecting. When we were hurt, we felt that love was somehow diminished and damaged. But hurt has nothing to do with love, and love is unaffiliated with and unaffected by pain. Ego was hurt, not love. Love is divine. It's everywhere present and abundant and free. It's a spiritual energy that is at this very moment flowing through the universe, through us, through our enemies, through our families, through billions of souls. It was never absent from our lives. It is not bound in our hearts or relationships, and thus not capable of being owned or lost. We have allowed our awareness of love to diminish. That's all. In doing so, we have caused our own suffering. We must mature and realize that freeing our mind of ancient hurts and opening once more to love shall give us access to divine strength, to stand emotionally open before the world and give our hearts without fear or hurt or demand of reciprocity is the ultimate act of human courage. Life is about arriving at this place of truly trusting, knowing, believing, accepting, and living that love is all there is. And so we've each been given the perfect journey for that awakening. Don't wish to have anyone else's. Because what we do in our evolution is dissolve whatever is in the way and allow that which is the truth of who we are and what we love to express and to live. So thank you for joining us. I would like to let you know that we have a social hour. If you're watching this live, that you can always join. Just let us know here or email us at office@cslmorristown.org. And we have yoga every fourth Tuesday of the month with Steve Darsitano, Kundalini Yoga. And I'm really excited about a visitor we're going to have here on the 31st. That's Greg Lavoie. So keep an eye on our Facebook pages with the information. He will also do a workshop on Zoom afterwards, which you can sign up for via Breeze. Just let us know and we'll get the information to you. That's going to be on the 31st. And there's still room for anyone joining us for the Bible class this week, which is Thursday mornings from 10 to 12. That's Eastern Standard Time. I would like to close with a healing prayer, a healing treatment, a spiritual mind treatment. So I invite you to close your eyes. So right here, right now, I open my mind and my heart to the truth being spoken, which is being spoken into the universal mind from spirit through me. But it is in the oneness of all life and love and law that I speak this word for everyone in the circumference of this broadcast and beyond, knowing that we are connected to this universal mind that reveals an ever-present supply of faith and wisdom and love and creativity and joy, and it is ours for the choosing. So today we choose what is for our highest and best, and for the highest and best of everyone around us. Today we trust that this very ground of being that is made up of pure love and wisdom is available to everyone, everywhere, all the time. And the more I dwell in it, the more we dwell in it, the more it makes itself known. So whatever is happening in the world is simply showing us and inviting us to see with the purest, clearest clarity of this inner wisdom that is already available, of the mind of the universe that is already being used by us by means of our mind, and that it is infinite in its expression. Therefore, anything and everything is possible. So today we claim all that is good, all that is for the highest and best, all that is for healing, starting with ourselves, and then extending that through our participation in the world, through our actions, through our lives, out there into the world. I'm so grateful that I'm aware, that we are aware that our mind and our heart is our greatest possession, our greatest gift, that we are caretakers of it, and that we are gatekeepers, and that we do it well. Well meaning to the best of our ability, and that it is good enough. And so it is. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and know you are loved.